I was on the road back from a weekend trip, cutting through rural highways to save time. It was past 1 a.m., and I hadn't seen another car for miles. When I finally spotted the glowing sign of a 24-hour supermarket, I pulled in, more out of curiosity than need. The lot was cracked and empty. The building looked old, neon letters missing or half lit. I parked close to the entrance, engine idling for a moment before I shut it off. It felt forgotten. Inside, the store was cold and silent. No music, no employees in sight, just the buzz of ceiling lights and rows of dusty shelves. I called out a quiet hello, but got no answer. I started wandering the aisles, half laughing to myself. It felt like a relic from the early 2000s. Old branding, faded posters, even some expired snacks. Still, something about the silence gnawed at me. Then I heard something, like a bottle falling and rolling across the floor. I turned around. Nothing. Just the long, empty aisle. The bottle lay on its side in the middle of the floor. I called out again, still no response. I picked up the bottle and set it back, but I could feel it now. Someone was nearby, watching, not in front of me, behind. I walked toward the front to leave, but I froze at the end of the aisle. There was a man standing at the far end. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there. No cart, no movement. I blinked. He was gone. I turned the corner quickly, empty, no doors opening, no footsteps. Just my own breathing and the low hum of the lights. I made for the exit, picking up speed. But when I passed the freezer section, my breath caught. He was in the glass reflection, standing between two freezers behind me, closer. I spun around. Nothing. I ran for the door, pushing through. The doors opened sluggishly like something was resisting. I bolted to the car, hands shaking as I fumbled for my keys. As I started the engine, headlights lit up the storefront. In one of the windows, the man stood just inside, face obscured, his hand pressed against the glass, not trying to get out, just watching. I tore out of the lot and didn't stop until I hit a gas station an hour away. I told the clerk what I saw. He looked at me for a long time and just said, "That place has been shut down for months. Power got cut weeks ago." It was just past midnight when I realized I was out of coffee filters. I debated waiting until morning, but the idea of facing the day uncaffeinated was worse than a late-night run to the supermarket. So I grabbed my keys and hoodie, slipped on my sneakers, and headed to the 24-hour store 5 blocks away. The parking lot was nearly empty when I arrived. A single car sat idling under a flickering light. I parked a few spots away, not thinking much of it, and walked toward the entrance. The sliding doors opened with a tired hum, and I stepped inside. Inside, the place felt cavernous. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above half-stocked shelves. The only sound was the distant whir of a floor buffer somewhere in the back. I grabbed a basket and headed for the coffee aisle. I was the only customer, or so I thought. As I turned into the aisle with the filters, I caught a glimpse of someone just disappearing around the other end. I paused, unsure if I really saw anything. I told myself it was just another shopper or a night stalker. Still, I quickened my pace, grabbed what I needed, and headed toward the checkout. That's when I heard the squeak. A slow, deliberate squeak, like a shopping cart being pushed one wheel at a time. I looked behind me. Nothing. The aisle was empty, but the sound came again, a little louder this time. I turned into the next aisle, peering down its length. A cart sat in the middle, empty. I left the basket on a shelf and started walking faster toward the front of the store. I didn't hear the squeaking anymore, but I could feel something, like the air had thickened, pressing against my chest. As I passed the refrigerated section, I caught a reflection in the glass doors. A man, standing still at the far end of the store. Pale, thin, not holding a cart or basket, just watching. I didn't turn around. I moved quickly to the self-checkout, punching in the buttons with shaking hands. I could see the entrance from here, just a few more seconds. The receipt printed. I grabbed my bag and turned toward the doors. He was gone. The place was completely empty again. I walked outside trying to keep calm, glancing behind me only once. The parking lot was empty. Even the idling car was gone. But when I reached my car, I saw something tucked under my windshield wiper. A small folded receipt, not mine. I opened it. On the back of the receipt, written in shaky pen, were the words, "You dropped something." I looked around again. No one. I drove home fast, constantly checking my mirrors. I never saw anyone behind me. But when I unpacked the bag, I found something I hadn't picked up. A single black glove. I don't know how it got in there. I used to work the overnight shift at a grocery store in a small town in Oregon. It was a quiet job. I stocked shelves, listened to music, and drank way too much coffee. Most nights nothing happened. But one night in April, something did. Something I still think about every time I walk to my car after dark. It was around 3:30 in the morning. I had just finished restocking the cereal aisle and went out the back exit to take a short break. The loading dock was empty, and the parking lot behind the store was almost pitch black, lit only by 2 flickering streetlights. I stood there for a while smoking when I noticed a man across the parking lot standing still. He was tall, maybe 6 feet 4 inches, and wearing a long brown coat. He wasn't moving, just watching. I felt my stomach twist, but I told myself maybe he was homeless or just passing through. Still, something felt wrong. He didn't seem lost. He seemed like he was waiting for something. I stubbed out my cigarette and went back inside. I told my coworker James about the guy, but James just shrugged and said, "As long as he stays out there, who cares?" I wanted to agree, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd seen that man before. About 20 minutes later, I went back out with a few cardboard boxes to dump in the bin. I didn't see him at first, but when I got closer to the dumpster, I froze. He was standing behind it, closer than before, still not moving. I slowly backed away and went inside without saying anything. This time I locked the door behind me. My hands were shaking. James told me I was overreacting. He's just a weirdo. This town's full of them. At around 5 a.m., our shift was almost over. The sky was starting to lighten. I felt stupid for being scared, so I told James I'd go bring the carts in from the lot. He said fine, and I grabbed a vest and stepped outside through the front doors. The moment I stepped out, I saw him again. This time, he wasn't far away. He was leaning against my car at the far end of the lot, arms crossed. His head turned slowly toward me. I walked back inside immediately. My chest was tight, and my vision was tunneling. "He's by my car," I told James. "He's just standing there." James finally got serious. "Let's call the cops," he said. We made the call, and while we waited, we peeked through the glass doors. The lot was empty. He was gone. Just vanished. The police showed up 10 minutes later, but they didn't find anyone. I showed them the footage from the loading dock camera. He was there, but only for a few seconds, and then gone. I drove home after that with all the doors locked and my heart pounding. I couldn't stop checking the mirrors. I even ran red lights just to get out of empty intersections faster. A week later, on my day off, I woke up around 2 p.m. and checked my phone. I had a message from an unknown number. No text, just a single photo. It was me, standing on the loading dock, smoking. from across the lot.